Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. We're here at the Calgary Emergency Management Agency's update on the 16th Avenue water main break. We're here in the Emergency Operations Centre. Joining us for today's update is Mayor Jyoti Gondek, Calgary Emergency Management Agency Chief Sue Henry, General Manager of Infrastructure Services Michael Thompson, and Director of Capital Priorities and Investment Francois Bouchal. We'll hear their updates. We'll take your questions. Please limit yourself to one question and a follow, and I will turn it over to Mayor Gondek to start. Thanks.
Oki Daranastada Ambawastich, Tanse, and good afternoon, everyone. With work above ground complete for now, we have crews working hard on focusing on what we need to do below the surface. We are working to bring regular water service back to Calgarians. Backfilling of the excavation sites has been completed, and yesterday most of the paving work was done as well. There's a little bit more paving that needs to be done, but couldn't be finished because of the rain we had last night, but the road on 16th Ave will be opened as of tomorrow. There will be some closures just locally, so please check out the maps on calgary.ca, but we're really happy to tell you that 16th Avenue will be opening up tomorrow. For those who are wondering why we had to backfill, it's the fact that you need to pack earth around the pipe to be able to stabilize it before the filling can begin. So we appreciate that question, and I hope that addresses it. Filling the pipe began last night, and it is on track right now, and flushing of the pipe will take place next. It's expected to start tomorrow at some point. Now, don't be surprised if you're in the areas of Bowness or Montgomery, and it looks like city hoses are running a lot of water. It is for a very good reason. There is a flushing process that we need to go through to get the water out of the pipe. That's why you'll see that water flow. It is being directed towards the river. That water will be dechlorinated before it goes into the river. And with flushing tomorrow, that means that testing of the water will likely take place this weekend. That's when our partners at Alberta Health Services will be able to tell us what the quality of the water looks like. We are actually very close to be able to lift some of those measures that we asked you to practice to save water inside your homes, but we're not quite there yet. There are still some more steps to get the job done. Yesterday, we used 473 million liters of water, or about 21% less than what we would typically use at this time of year. And that number seems to be creeping up, which is not a great trend. On the other hand, the good people of Airdrie managed to use 30% less water than usual. And we very much appreciate all the work that businesses and residents in our neighboring communities are doing at reducing their water use. So Calgary, it's time for us to step up again. I know you're frustrated, and I know that you're tired of putting in so much effort at saving water. But I have to tell you, all of your savings matter. We can see that when you're practicing the measures of having shorter showers, turning off the taps when you're brushing your teeth, it makes a really big difference. It keeps water flowing to our pipes, and it also helps hospitals and firefighters in really important life-saving measures. Please know that all of you who are doing your part, we can see it, and it makes a big difference every day. It's going to be several days before the filling, flushing, testing, and stabilizing is complete. And that means that we'll need to keep practicing water savings until we get the all clear. And I'll give you more on that shortly. But for now, let me turn it over to SEMA Chief Sue Henry.
Thank you, Mayor, and good afternoon. Thank you for joining us and assisting in sharing these important updates broadly. At 1:30 p.m. today, we renewed the state of local emergency, which has been in effect since June the 15th. The state of local emergency reinforces the urgency and priority of this response. It allows crews, contractors, and partners to restore our city's water supply as quickly and as safely as possible. We remain in stage 4 water restrictions, and we continue to urge Calgarians to reduce indoor water usage. Thank you to everyone who has made changes in their everyday routine to help us conserve water. If all goes well, we are very hopeful that we're getting close to the end of this, but we still have a ways to go. We need you to continue to save water where you can. Fortunately, we received a good amount of rain last night, and that's helpful for our lawns and our gardens, and more rain is expected today and into the weekend. A low pressure system is expected to bring around 40 to 60 millimeters of precipitation to portions of the Bow and Elbow River basins between Thursday afternoon and Friday afternoon. Flows on the Elbow are expected to rise approximately 40 cubic meters per second, which is slightly higher than the seasonal normal. This may trigger the closure of a couple of pathway underpasses, but no significant flooding risk and no need for a boating advisory. Similarly, on the Bow River, flows may rise to approximately 200 or 220 cubic meters per second, which is only slightly higher than the seasonal normal range. Again, this may result in the closure of one or two pathway underpasses, but no significant risk of flooding. About 10 to 20 millimeters is expected locally, which should help keep plant stress low and keep Calgary green. This precipitation is welcome. And with the rain coming, if you don't have the means to collect rainwater in containers, you can visit one of the 7 distribution locations and fill up a container with river water to take home and use on your gardens, your lawns, and your plants. Please check calgary.ca for details about the location nearest to you. We do continue to see a huge uptick in our non-potable water sites. There are still 7 sites, and yesterday alone, 590 people visited us, and we distributed 46,140 liters of water to residents. Since Monday, that's a total of 1,843 people visits with 112 liters of river water supplied. Our crews have started the process to fill the pipe with water, and they are on track for flushing tomorrow. GM Thompson will provide more information on that in a few minutes. And on 16th Avenue, crews have finished paving between 45th and 46th Streets Northwest, and that section of 16th Avenue reopened to traffic at noon today. As I mentioned yesterday, there will be some pathway closures and a parking lot closure in Edworthy Park, so our crews can flush the water and continue with the process. Starting tonight, the north parking lot near Edworthy Park at Bowness Road will be closed. The south parking lot will remain open, and that lot is accessible from Bow Trail and Edworthy Street Southwest. Also starting tonight, some sections of the Bow River Pathway will be detoured, including near Angels Cafe and the north parking lot. Please note Angels Cafe remains open. Please use caution and follow signage throughout the area. The work our crews are undertaking involves releasing large volumes of dechlorinated water into the Bow River near Edworthy Park. And during this flushing process, the river does remain open for floating and boating. However, we again ask you to please stay off the north shoreline for your safety. And this is expected to take about 1 to 4 days to complete. Yesterday, we talked about Canada Day celebrations downtown and the fireworks from Stampede Park that will go ahead to celebrate Canada Day. I'd like to remind Calgarians that fireworks are only to be set off by trained and certified professionals with a fireworks permit, even in times when fire ban is not in effect. Fireworks and pyrotechnics must not be sold, used, or ignited in Calgary except by these trained and certified professionals who have obtained a permit from the Calgary Fire Department and are under the direction of a fireworks supervisor. So please do not fire or ignite your own fireworks or pyrotechnics. This includes consumer fireworks that have been purchased or ordered outside of Calgary. And doing so without a permit is in violation of the National Fire Code and the City of Calgary bylaws and may result in fines or prosecution. For our recreation folks, we know there's lots of Calgarians that are interested in understanding what's happening, and we recognize there's been a lot of uncertainty around our city-operated recreation service disruptions, and we want to keep you informed. While we cannot provide a definitive timeline as to when we will reopen, we remain optimistic and hope to resume full programming soon. We want to assure you that we will not cancel water-based registered programs like swimming lessons or bookings like ice rentals at city-operated facilities unless we are confident we will not be able to operate them. For those of you wondering about swimming lessons or other aquatic programs starting on Tuesday, July 2nd, please be advised that they are not canceled. We may need to adjust the start date if we are unable to restore water service at that time. And if the start date to your registered program is delayed, you will be notified by email. If we do need to cancel any registered programs, you will also be notified by email. For those of you that are wondering about day camps, our day camps are proceeding as scheduled. Until we restore water service, swimming activities at day camps will be replaced with other fun activities to keep the campers active, entertained, and smiling. Thank you for your patience and understanding as we navigate this challenging situation together. For our bylaw numbers today, our officers have had 2,857 water misuse calls since June 6th, which have resulted in 888 verbal warnings, 17 violation tickets. We have had a total of 232 calls for service regarding the firebrand, resulting in 34 written warnings, 95 verbal warnings, and 6 violation tickets. Our 311 team has taken 9,925 calls related to this water event. Thank you again for your patience and your understanding. Every small action you take makes a difference, and every drop of water counts. I will now pass over to General Manager Michael Thompson to provide more details about what's next for the feeder main repair.
Thank you, Chief, and good afternoon. I'd like to start off with some good news from the construction crews. As you heard, the paving in the repair area was substantially completed last night. I've also heard some questions on why we would backfill the pipe and pave the road before the pipe is pressurized. Once we complete the welding on a pipe repair, the welds are tested to ensure that they can hold the required pressure. From there, the pipe needs to be backfilled as a way to secure it before we fill, flush, test, and stabilize the pipe. We paved quickly to ensure we are working towards reducing construction impacts on businesses and residents as soon as possible. As I mentioned yesterday, we were not able to pave over the feeder main while we're monitoring its condition, and due to the rain last night, we could not complete all of the paving. The final top 2 inches of paving will be completed once the feeder main is in service. As you can see in the map, the detour on 46th Street has shifted east to 44th Street, where the traffic travels up north to Bonus Road. This detour shift is because we have now been able to open the road at Repair Area 1. As we remove the detours, we'll have local lane closures to allow crews to monitor the pipe during the filling and flushing process. On Friday, the rest of the detour will be removed, with the exception of those small sections indicated in the red on the map that's required for monitoring. Traffic will be flowing in both directions. Today, as we're nearing the reopening, our crews will finish installing some of the infrastructure, such as rebuilding the curbs, installing traffic lights, guardrails, and cleaning the street. Though the work above ground is wrapping up, important work continues to bring the feeder main back in service, and Director Francois Bouchard will provide you an update on this work today. As I've said over the last few days, this is a risky time as we return this feeder main to service. In the event that there is an issue, we have contingency plans in place. We have spare pipe material that has been prepared and is ready to be installed. We have a rapid response plan to ensure staff and contractors can get to the site urgently if required. And we also have equipment that remains on site to assist with any future required repairs. As I've said, we're not out of the woods yet. I want to thank the residents and commuters most impacted by construction activities. Your patience is greatly appreciated. And now I would like to welcome Director Bouchard to provide an update on the filling, flushing, and the steps to follow. Thank you.
Thank you, GM Thompson. Good afternoon, everyone. As I shared earlier this week, we're working towards a return to service for the feeder main. This work includes 4 important steps: filling the feeder main, flushing the feeder main, testing the water, and stabilizing the system. Yesterday evening, we started the process to fill the pipe. We're currently on track to have the pipe full and start flushing the system tomorrow. This flushing step is required by regulatory requirements and necessary to meet and exceed water quality standards. The flushed water will exit through the valves and fire hydrants and run through pipes through part of Edworthy Park and into the river. The water will be dechlorinated before it enters the river. The health of the river is of utmost importance. We are working closely with environments and protected areas to ensure that we mitigate environmental impacts of the water entering the river. Initially, there may be some discoloration and sediment coming out of the pipe. This is normal. If all goes well, the flushing process will take 1 day. Once flushing is complete, samples of water in the feeder main will be sent to the lab for testing. In the event that water quality tests fail, we will need to continue flushing the system. Though this work is progressing, we still have work to do. Risk increases when we stop flushing, and there will be another pressure change in the system. There is a risk of more breaks at this stage. We will be monitoring carefully for any changes and potential new breaks during this time. We will share our plans of what restoring water service will look like as we progress further through this final phase of work. Currently, our top priority is to ease indoor water saving measures. Once we have a sense of how our system is stabilizing, we'll address outdoor water restrictions. But until then, they remain in effect. We are committed to keeping the public up to date as we navigate these steps together. At this point, I'll invite the mayor back to the podium.
Thank you, Director Bouchard. So as you've just heard, once the feeder main has been filled, flushed, tested, and stabilized, we will start easing off of those indoor water-saving measures that we asked you to use. Once water crews say that the city's water system is stabilized, we'll also begin gradually lifting outdoor water restrictions that were put in place because of the original pipe break. But it's important to keep in mind that we will be eased out of these restrictions. And the Calgary Fire Department will be making a decision at some point on when they can lift the citywide fire ban. They will let us know when they're ready to do that. So that's the path that we all have to follow in the coming days. In the meantime, I know you will all do your best to find ways to conserve water in your homes and your businesses. And this is the kind of thing that we've been doing for the last 3 weeks. So tomorrow morning, I will join you again at 8:30 via live stream with more progress towards water restoration. And tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock, you will find us back here at the Emergency Operations Center with more progress updates. Now I will turn things over to Sherry to field questions from the media.
Thank you, Mayor. Global News, Adam?
So I was asked some questions about some of the triggers that we're at when it comes to certain things reopening, certain city services, the water, restoration of water restrictions as well. Calgarians continue to be asked to maintain, efforts to conserve water. I'm curious, what are some of these triggers that we have to get to in terms of easing some of these restrictions or starting to reopen city services? What are some of the trigger points here, or some of these benchmarks that we need to get to for that stuff to start happening?
So some of the most important stuff that's happening is not visual. You can't see the work that's being done in the pipe underground. And so that's why it's important for us to be updating you regularly on the fact that we need to fill, flush, test, and then stabilize. And until you can see it, sometimes it's hard to believe that it's real. That's why we're stressing the fact that we need to keep up our water saving measures. So I would say that once we are at the point that Alberta Health Services has said that our water is safe, once the filling and flushing process has been done, after that, when we get to the stabilizing process of ensuring that the pressure in the pipe is something that it can manage, that's when we will definitely notify you about easing of those indoor measures. And after that, after we've had a chance to monitor the pipe, we'll be able to let you know what's happening with outdoor water restrictions. It's hard for us to give you a timeline right now because we're still in that filling phase, but that's the way that you will see that gradual easing of restrictions.
Can I clarify on the swim lessons and that kind of stuff? I know the website says July 2nd, and you said that things will proceed as normal, things will start, dates will have to change. Can I just clarify what that means? Like, when will these pools be open, and these swim lessons start? Is that July 2nd date still kind of planned at this point?
So again, it's very difficult to predict exactly what date this will happen. We need to get to a place where we've done the filling, the flushing, the testing, and the stabilizing for our system. Once that happens, various pools are at various different stages. Some of the pools need to fill, some need longer to come back up online than others. At this point in time, we are hopeful, but we need to wait for those stages to happen, and folks will get an email that will tell them whether their program is continuing. But for folks that are in those day camps that are run by the City of Calgary, we've made alternate plans for that July 2nd date so that they can still do activities to stay active and participate in camp until such time as the pools can be reopened.
Okay. Mike, CBC.
Yeah, it's the chief. I'll try to get this right. Has the city noticed a rise in complaints or improper outdoor wastewater usage on the hotter days?
That's a great question. I will have to follow up with you on that. We'll have to match the bylaw numbers that we've received to the weather patterns. I'm sorry, I don't have that right in front of me today.
Anything else, Mike? Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. City news?
For the mayor, please. This is the long weekend and people are going to use more water. That's the assumption. What if Calgary is going to use more than the 480 million liters threshold? What will happen then?
So it is a long weekend, and there are some assumptions out there that people may use more water. I have a feeling that people in Calgary understand all too well now over the last 3 weeks that we can't let the numbers creep up over 480. I have faith in the people of Calgary, Airdrie, Chestermere, Strathmore, and Tsuut'ina Nation to understand that we are still in that period where we need to be conserving water. I know they will continue to do their part. There are also a lot of people that are leaving the city for the long weekend. So it's hard to say what the water usage will look like. All I can do is make sure I'm reminding everybody to keep saving water. Right now, it's as important as it was for the last 3 weeks. So what we can do is just continue to appeal to people's good nature.
When we're told that we're not out of the woods, what are the kind of complications that can come up in the flushing phase?
I'm going to let GM Thompson handle that.
As I mentioned for the last couple of days, when the original feeder main break happened, the entire system depressurized quickly and the pipe went under significant shock. And so we need to slowly bring the pipe back up to pressure and look for areas, not that we've recently repaired the 5 hotspots, but other areas that may have undergone damage. And so we're going to slowly bring the pipe back up to pressure. We'll be listening for areas of concern. If we need to go in and do some additional repairs, we'll do that. And if not, we'll continue on with the process of stabilizing and restoring water service.
So if I'm being clear, more ruptures or another boil water advisory, what could be the complications?
Our concern would be that as we bring the pipe up to pressure slowly and cautiously, that we would see additional breaks or leaks. And so that's why we'll be moving slowly and cautiously as we bring the pipe back into service.
Thanks. Todd, CTV.
Simon, actually.
Simon, sorry.
No, that's okay. Mayor, this is for you. It's a good news question, if that's okay.
That's okay.
Despite the water main challenges, a new report has Calgary ranked as the 5th most livable city in the world. What do you think sets it apart from the others?
Great news. We are the 5th most livable city in the world. And I think one of the things that sets us apart from everybody else is the type of people that live in this place. We have seen over the last 3 weeks, Calgarians band together as well as our neighboring communities to say, we're facing an emergency. We've got to get through this together. We are willing to do our part. That's the big story about Calgary. When people live here, they understand they belong. They understand they're part of community, and they understand what it means to do things with and for each other. Not to mention the fact that our city is absolutely gorgeous. We've got a thriving economy, and we've got a beautiful arts and culture sector, not to mention the sports. There's just all kinds of things to love about this city, and I appreciate that we've been recognized globally.
And just secondly, how will you ensure Calgary maintains its ranking or rises over the next year?
I think it's really important to tell the stories of our city in our own voice. It is one thing from someone sitting in Eastern Canada to talk about us or judge us. It's entirely another to invite them here and have them experience our city. That's what we've been doing for the last few years. We've been telling the stories of this city. from the voice of the people, the many folks who live here, the many people who work here, the many businesses who chose to locate here. And it has been resonating. The things we're doing around downtown revitalization, the conversion projects to build more homes downtown, the Arts Commons transformation process, all of this has been garnering headlines globally.
Good. Okay, last question to Global.
Maybe can I ask, I understand throughout this water situation, we were trying to stay below 480 million liters daily, consequence being transmission of water has been a challenge. Do the consequences change now that we are in the filling and flushing and stabilization phase when it comes to trying to stay below that 480 million liters daily? Are the issues different when it comes to water use while we're doing this type of work?
Well, let me start that question, and then perhaps Director Bouchard can add to this. The issues remain the same. Making sure that we have enough water in our reserves to address any kind of emergencies is critical. And that's why the top threshold was set at 480. For us to be using 25% less water than usual, we need to be at about the 450 mark. That's why I keep reminding us that as we creep up towards the threshold, it gets us into a bit of a perilous position. We've got to make sure we've got reserve water to fight fires and for any type of life emergencies that hospitals or care facilities are seeing. So it's as important right now as it was before. The fact that you can't see an open pit and repair work being done, it doesn't mean that we're not out of the woods yet. Until that filling and flushing and testing is done, we can't get towards stabilizing the pipe. And once it's stabilized, that's when we will start telling you that we are out of the woods and we can ease back into regular usage. But Director Bouchard, would you like to add to that?
Absolutely. And in terms of the 4 steps, the first 3 steps, the pipe is not back in service. So as long as the pipe is not back in service, we have exactly the same conditions in terms of our ability to move water and supply water to Calgarians and ensure fire protection. When we move into the 4th step, which is the stabilization, this is when we will start the pumps at the Bearspaw Water Treatment Plant. Those pumps will gradually be turned on, and over time, we will bring the operation of that pipe to normal operations or typical operations for that pipe. But it takes many steps for us to get there. And at each of those steps, we have to assess the risks. We have to assess the condition, what we've monitored, what is that telling us about the pipe as we progress through it. So that's the point in time when we will start being able to look at when easing of water restrictions could happen.
Let's say the water use continues to creep up. Does that place additional strain on when that pipe starts to get brought back into service?
It doesn't add additional strain. What it adds is strain on the system and adds the risks of to the system as long as people aren't conserving water the way that they have been.
Final question.
You said that rain hampered your plans. Is it like the deadline, you're behind the deadline in the pavement of the roads? What was the delay actually with the rain?
I'll ask GM Thompson to answer that question.
So we worked quickly yesterday to repave the repair sites, and as we were working quickly, the rain started to come in, and we weren't able to finish paving the last 2 inches on 3 of the repair sites. We can't pave them right now as we're currently monitoring the pipe as we're filling it, and then we'll move into the next stages of flushing, testing, and stabilizing it. But we'll come back once the pipe is back into service, and we'll finish those repairs and finish those final 2 inches. This is similar to any road that you would drive on. We typically would mill out 2 inches of asphalt as we go and repave these roads. And so it's similar to you would see in any of the communities as we're milling and repaving roads across the city right now.
Thank you. We're at time, folks. I'll invite Mayor Blondin to the podium to close us out. Reminder to media, the images used in today's display will be included in the press release, and we will be back here at 2. Mayor Blondin.
Thank you, Sherry. I just want to express appreciation for the number of people who are tuning into the updates and asking some really good questions. You have been posting them on social media. You've been emailing us. You've been talking to us when we're out and about. Your questions are great. Asking about why wasn't paving done and then finding out that it's because of the rain. Those are questions that we are happy to take and answer. Asking us about why we had to do backfilling before we could test the pipe. Really good question, and we're happy to give you that perspective. So please keep engaging with us. Not only do your tips and tricks on how to save water matter, but your questions are important to us. So please keep them coming in. And to all of our partners in the media, thank you so much for getting the message out to people in Calgary and the surrounding region so we can keep everyone updated. Have a good day.